Kevin, how can dealers effectively communicate with and reassure their teams about job security and the organization's stability in light of tariffs? What specific messages should leaders convey?
Yeah, I think that, again, we're talking about an environment potentially sustainable and structural change in which the US auto industry is by volume smaller, right? So fewer transactions, although those transactions may be more valuable, more profitable from a revenue and gross perspective. So I think you do have to be aware that there's that potential to right size your enterprise to fit an industry that isn't doing as much total volume. That said, I feel like especially the franchise dealer base went through this recently during the pandemic, right? To Lloyd's point, we've seen these shocks before, whether it's 9/11, whether it's the global financial crisis of '08 through 11, whether it's the pandemic, right? So I feel like there was a lot of cost rationalization that happened early on in the pandemic that also helped drive 2022 as a peak earnings period. And so a lot of that works to me has been done, right? We come out of the pandemic arguably sometime 23, 24, and here we are right back into the same sort of supply demand dynamic, which means a smaller market. So I have been saying, like, I think the structural lift is much heavier for the manufacturers in terms of excess capacity, in terms of headcount, and adjusting your manufacturing footprint to focus more on the US and not, globally or even Canada, Mexico. That's a way, way more financially burdensome task that they have relative to the franchise dealer base. Again, I feel like they've been through this very recently, and if they're not completely right-sized to a smaller market, they're pretty close already.
I think dealers figured out back in 09, 10, and 11 that they could no longer run their dealerships from their ranch or their sports fishermen. I think they're back engaged. If not granularly, they have supervisory management that is really communicating daily, who's in touch daily with their management teams. And I think the results of what we did in 18, how we recovered from that, reflect that these dealerships now have been professionalized and they are communicating with management. And in this crisis, I believe they're going to do that right away. They'll be telling their management teams that, hey, I'm not panicking. You shouldn't panicking. Nobody's job's on the line. We got a challenge ahead of us. We've been here. We've done this before. We're going to do it again. We're going to have to stay in contact with our manufacturers. We're going to have to know what's coming before it gets here so we can be prepared. It's a function of a team acting like a team and practicing the Yoda cycle, which I'm a big fan of, which means observe what's going on in the economy, observe what's going on in the dealership with our local community, what's going on internationally, observe what's going on constantly, and constantly orient ourselves to it. So you observe, you orient, you're constantly deciding what you're going to do, the action we're going to take. Then you're going to act on it. And then you're going to observe the consequences of your action and start the cycle over again. Observe, orient, decide, and act. That's the way management teams work. And that's the way management teams effectively deal with somebody moving their cheese, because the cheese is moving all the time and we've got to get ahead of it. And we learned that we're going to do well. Automobile dealers are going to do a heck of a lot better than washing machine salesman. I mean, I don't know if I'd want to be running a Best Buy dealer, Best Buy store right now. You got to believe that probably 90% of their merchandise is imported. The car dealers aren't that bad. We're going to do okay.